Hi all, my name is Davis and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things tech, and welcome to the Tech Rundown, where we take a look at all of the latest stories from the past week and I break it down in an easy to digest format that hopefully isn't completely dull. On this show, not only do we cover the latest gadgets, but we also discuss the larger stories that a lot of other tech channels don't touch, stories that will probably have great implications on our society going into the future, and of course we'll touch on relatively light topics too. Just remember that if you do want to hear me discuss these topics beforehand, I'll be discussing most but not all of these stories on David Bull's Weekend Breakfast on Talk every Sunday at 7:20 AM in the UK, and you can also find the stream here on YouTube as well. And this video is brought to you by the Arc Pulse case for the iPhone and Galaxy Ultra, the super minimal phone case that gives you the protection that you need, but also the pleasurable naked feel that we all desire. You can save 15% off with the current Black Friday sale, and if you use my code Davis10, you can help support this channel, which I really do appreciate. So the first story has gotten a lot of people's knickers in a twist, and I think that by us talking about it, that we might actually be playing into a little bit of a conspiracy theory. So in this weird commercialized world, a lot of people believe that the festive period has only truly started once their favorite Christmas advertisement or video has come out. For some, it might be the John Lewis ad in the UK. This year's was called Gifting Hour, and it was about someone trying to buy the perfect gift for her sister. Yep, it really wasn't all that exciting, but some people did love it. And for others, it might be James Charles's annual TikTok Christmas announcement video. Again, I do have questions. But for others though, it's not John Lewis, nor is it James Charles that announces the start of Christmas. Rather, it is Coca-Cola. Yep, the famous Holidays Are Coming ad is an annual Christmas institution at this point, and it's a campaign that people from around the world have enjoyed since 1995. And every year the ad is pretty predictable. They are light and wholesome, they contain Christmas imagery, happy people, and the famous Coca-Cola truck covered in Ferris lights. And also, let's not forget the Holidays Are Coming song. The rather large production also provides a lot of work for a number of actors, production crew, digital artists, and so on. So you might be able to tell why there was a little bit of a pouring of outrage when this year's ad was completely generated by AI. Yep, Coca-Cola, a multi-billion-dollar company, decided to use generative AI to create their most viewed campaign of the year. In response to the backlash, Coca-Cola said that this ad was an efficient use of time and money. I guess that's true, as they didn't have to hire anyone to make it. And they also said that they wanted to adapt to today's times. I guess while a lot of people are currently using generative AI, I don't think that this is hardly the trend in advertising. However, this is what I found most hilarious. They mentioned that they wanted to use a more diverse cast. I mean, if having a diverse cast means having no cast at all, then well done, I guess. This is the most diverse cast of all time. People on Twitter were especially outraged. Some felt that it was lazy, others felt that it was garbage, ugly, and some people even called it the death of art. Others felt immediately sick, and this is my absolute favorite. This person just felt kinda sad. Despite the backlash, I do have to say that this ad is quite well done for a generative AI project. The hands, often a difficult challenge for AI, look rather good. However, I do feel like that Coca-Cola knew that this backlash was indeed coming. In a landscape where so many companies are putting massive budgets into super ambitious and heartwarming advertisements, Coca-Cola decided that it would create the most media interest if they decided to do the complete opposite, as in put no effort into it whatsoever and create this piece of AI monstrosity. And it has indeed worked. We are indeed talking about it, and so has just about every single other publication out there. So well done, Coca-Cola. You win Christmas. Next up, there is a £3 billion lawsuit that is alleging that Apple's iCloud is a monopoly. Now, if you are an iCloud user, you might be familiar with a message saying that your iCloud storage is full and that you need to purchase more to back up your data. Well, can you believe that since its launch in 2011, that the free tier hasn't budged at all from a paltry 5 gigabytes? I mean, 5 gigabytes wasn't enough back then, and it is absolutely paltry in 2024. To put it into perspective, the base iPhone 4 model back then had 16 gigabytes of storage, or 8 gigabytes if you include the later base model. And in 2024, the base iPhone model has 128 gigabytes of storage. So you are definitely going to need to purchase a lot more space if you are going to be backing up all of that data. And this sentiment forms only part of the case filed with the Competition Appeal Tribunal in the UK against Apple by Which.co.uk, which is a consumer group which aims to protect consumers from evil corporations like Apple. However, I do feel like that this case might be a little bit misguided. So they want £3 billion, and with their estimate of 40 million UK users of Apple products, the average payout would be around £70. And they are complaining that Apple is basically engaging in monopolistic behavior because you are unable to use any other cloud services to fully back up your phone. Well, if you are going to accuse Apple of that, then you might also need to sue Google, as well as Microsoft, BlackBerry, Nokia, Palm, everyone who has made a phone over the past 20 years. Did people really complain that you couldn't use iCloud to back up your Windows Phone in 2013? I don't think so, and neither does Google allow you to do that today. Of course, you can use a third-party service to back up your photos, but to expect Apple to allow one to fully sync your iPhone data onto a third-party cloud service is absolutely ludicrous. But that is not all, as you can only use iCloud to fully back up your data on an iPhone. Which.co.uk also claims that Apple have used this as an excuse to increase prices of iCloud by 29% last year, which was a shock price hike. I'm sorry, but if you have a look at the prices that Apple charges for storage upgrades, they are more than reasonable. 50 gigabytes for £1 a month and 2 terabytes for £9, that is very much in line with what the competitors charge. I don't think, for instance, that my OneDrive space has increased from a terabyte in what feels like more than a decade. And that is £6 a month, but that does include other things like Office, I do admit. And wait, their free tier is also 5 gigabytes. So yeah, I feel like that this case might just be a little bit silly. Next up, we have to talk about the US presidential election. I know, and I'm sorry, because it did cause a little bit of stir in the tech world, because there was a bit of an exodus from Twitter. And yes, I still refuse to call it X. And yes, I am still heartbroken that they finally updated the Mac app. So all my devices now say X. Anyway, while there have been many said exodus events since Musk took over the platform in 2022, it was reported that this was the most significant of such events, with 115,000 people apparently deleting their profiles. Now, the reason for doing so is varied, but it seems to mostly be a protest against Musk's involvement in the election and support of the Republican Party, the report of extremist views on the platform, and also the creation of so-called echo chambers, where your own opinion is constantly being reaffirmed in all the posts that you see. So it obviously makes sense to leave the platform with all the other people who share your views and join another platform, forming an even worse echo chamber. Yep, that makes complete sense to me. So immediately after the election, we saw Meta's Twitter competitor Threads become the most popular app in the App Store, and we also saw Blue Sky receive over 1 million new users. Now that does sound very impressive, until you realize just how insignificant the total user base is. Whereas Twitter, or X, has around 600 million users, and Threads now has around 275 million, Blue Sky has only 16 million. So there's still plenty of catching up to do. Will they though? Well, I don't really think so, because the only appeal I can see of Blue Sky is the fact that it's not owned by Elon Musk. Rather, it's owned by Jack Dorsey, who helped create Twitter, and that's about it. I mean, the app looks like Twitter, it feels like Twitter, and the only real differentiating feature is the fact that you can customize your feed and the fact that it is decentralized, which means absolutely nothing to the average user. Yes, it is interesting to a tech geek, but even then, I couldn't really care less. So basically what I'm saying is please follow me on Twitter, because at least there is still a modicum of a variety of opinion, unlike the wannabe competitors. And talking about the election, this was perhaps something that I did not see coming, and that is President-elect Trump possibly reversing the TikTok ban. Yep, if you didn't know, ByteDance, the Chinese company that currently owns TikTok, is currently supposed to divest or essentially sell TikTok to an American company by January 19th, 2025, or face a complete ban in the country because of potential Chinese government influence and also data privacy. And that ban would have massive implications in the US, as there is over 150 million regular users of the platform over there, which is almost half of the entire population, and it is also by far the most popular social app for Gen Z from a 2022 study, where on average Gen Z spent 12.8 hours on the platform versus just 3.8 hours of Instagram over a week. Trump on TikTok also has over 14 million followers, and it was also quite possibly this TikTok strategy that really made his campaign resonate with a younger audience this year. Now, a complete shift from his position in 2020, where he essentially instigated the TikTok ban, he has now pledged to save the platform. Now personally, as US politics doesn't really influence me as I don't really live there, I am so happy that he has indeed won, quite selfishly so, because I do make quite a lot of my income from that platform. However, it might not be the easiest thing to unban. ByteDance currently doesn't seem willing to sell the platform, so they are contesting the divestiture requirement in court, but time really is running out. Trump, when he comes into office just a day before the January 19th ban, can issue an executive order to nullify the divestiture, or he could appeal to Congress to appeal the law, but that would be hard considering the time frame. Now the question is, why would he be doing this? Either he has realized the influence of the platform and wants to continue to extend his influence there, or maybe it is just a conciliatory move to China in the light of the proposed tariff increases. Either way, I hope that TikTok continues to flourish. Now time for my final story and some even better news, because O2 has created a novel way to combat phone scammers. Now, this is an issue that a lot of people don't realize the scale of. In 2021, 45 million people in Britain were targeted by scam calls in just a 3-month period, and in a 6-month period that same year, 2/3 of adults reported that they had experienced a fraud attempt. So how does one fix this? With AI, of course. So AI phone calls have been around for a little while now. Google Pixel owners especially would know the joys of being able to book a table at a restaurant via phone without having to say a word, because the AI assistant can do it for you. While Google's use case might seem a little bit dystopian to some, I doubt that O2's AI would have many detractors, because they have created something called Daisy, who is an old lady who's designed to engage and probably enrage telephone fraudsters in prolonged, mundane conversations, thereby wasting their time and reducing their capacity to scam others. Absolutely genius, I say. By impersonating a frail elderly woman who is a common target for scammers, they are able to enjoy topics like baking, scones, and knitting. A win-win, I say. This is part of O2's initiative to disrupt fraudulent activities and increase public awareness about phone scams. And by diverting scammers' attention, Daisy can protect potential victims and reduce the success rate of fraudulent calls. To help Daisy out, you can report suspicious calls and messages to O2 for her to target. And that brings us to the end of this week's Tech Rundown. Remember, if you would like to see these topics and more discussed, tune in to David Bull's Weekend Breakfast on Talk on Sunday mornings. I'm on at 7:20 AM in the UK, and you can find them on YouTube as well. If you want to support my channel, you can check out the Black Friday sale for the Arc Pulse case, the super minimal case that protects your phone but also allows you to feel its naked body. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed, comment any thoughts you have on any of these stories, and until next time, toodaloo.